Hey everyone, welcome to My Wife the Dietitian, a weekly podcast about lifestyle and healthy eating. I'm Rob, and together with my wife Sandra, we invite you to join us on this informative yet entertaining journey through the complex world of healthy eating.
We'll cover everything but the kitchen sink. Each week we'll discuss topics ranging from how to protect yourself from developing cancer, spicy foods to rev up the libido, to caring for your palliative grandfather with Alzheimer's.
We'll also delve into more complex issues like, what the heck is oat milk? Why doesn't my butt fit into these jeans? And every guy's favorite question, will eating spinach really make it bigger? Join us each week as we strive to educate, enlighten, and entertain you.
Are the choices in the grocery store overwhelming? Do you wonder what items may be healthier to choose for you and your family in each section? Good nutrition starts at the point of purchase in the grocery store. Today, we'll focus on shopping the perimeter or the outer aisles where Whole Foods are located. Hey, Rob.
Oh, hey, Sandra.
Do you want to come to the grocery store with me?
It's really confusing, but yeah, it's kind of fun, I suppose.
Well, let's talk about food labels and navigating the aisles.
On like a virtual grocery trip, is that what you mean?
Sure.
Okay, that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah. So when you start, so you think, okay, I'm going to the grocery store. What are a couple of things to start with?
Buggy.
No, before you actually even go into the store.
Oh, I see. I like to make a list. Not everyone makes a list. Some people just like to go and just like get whatever looks good, which can be dangerous because then you end up with like just a truckload of food and empty pockets.
Right. Yes, that's so true. And what about like if you're hungry?
Well, then that makes it more exciting. I mean, it's a perfect place to be if you're hungry.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Make sure that you eat before you go shopping, because if you go shopping on an empty stomach,
everything looks good.
Oh yeah, you're going to be buying all the convenience items. Like you'll be like, okay, I got to eat now, and those chips look really good, and oh, those chocolates, and that's on sale. Cookies, 2 bags for 1. I'm gonna get both bags, and just it kind of throws everything out the window in terms of common sense.
Totally. I've sometimes just put some food in my cart and started eating it as I shop, just so that doesn't happen to me.
You're not allowed to do that.
I know, but it quells my hunger.
You're joking, right?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
You better be. It's just so wrong on so many levels, honey.
Okay, then I'm joking.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we haven't been shopping like in the store together for over 2 years now.
We should do that. We should videotape it.
Well, it's funny.
That's such an 80s word, videotape.
I used to do grocery tours for education for different like school groups and client groups. And then the pandemic shut everything down. And the grocery store was one place that's been really affected. So we didn't do that anymore.
Yeah, I think you had a lot of fun doing that. You're pretty stoked about those. So,
well, that's where nutrition education starts, and that's where like the point of purchase. So 5 steps. Let's start with 5 steps for navigating the aisles in a grocery store. And
right. Step number 1.
Eat first.
Eat first. We just talked about that.
Yeah. So don't shop on an empty stomach. Another thing with that is, how's your energy level? Like, are you going out at the end of the day? Do you have like a cranky toddler on your hip and you're trying to shop when the place is totally packed and you can barely get through the aisles? Because that's probably not, you might just want to get in and get out, and it might not be a great time to be like looking at labels and spending time in the grocery store, because you'll just feel awful.
That's good advice. I love it when I go to the store and it's empty, and then I can just take my time and read things and compare things, and it ends up being a bit more fun.
Yeah.
As fun as grocery shopping can be.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, if reading the labels is important for health, because to know what's in your food and you know it's you're feeding your family, you need a little bit of time to do that when you're grocery shopping. And I think you can't do that every time. It's just not, like, it doesn't make sense and probably not feasible for you to do it every time, but you can at least get know what's in your favorite foods and kind of pick the best options for that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, we're going to get to this, but the best foods are the ones without labels.
Oh yeah, you're getting ahead of yourself, though.
I know, but I mean, we're going to talk about reading labels, but really, whole foods that don't need labels, like fruits and vegetables, they are definitely what you should fill your cart most of if you can.
Perfect. All right, so what's number 2 on your list there?
Well, it's what you said is number 1 was making a list.
Oh, okay, we're getting confused now.
So I said eat first, don't shop on an empty stomach. And number 2, make a list, maybe at home before you go. Take a picture of the inside of your fridge.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
It's I learned that from a client of mine, actually, and it was like genius, because then if you have milk, or or you realize, oh yeah, I remember that's what I needed to go buy. So there's like you have an image on your phone, maybe you have a paper list, maybe you have coupons, maybe you've looked through the flyers, you figured out what's on sale before you get to the store, so you've done a bit of homework before you go shopping, and that actually really helps with your budget.
You know what I like to do? I'm pretty particular in a lot of ways, but when I make a list, I like to make it in the order of how the store is laid out, because I go to the same place to shop all the time, and so I make the list so that when I'm going through the store, my list starts where I start in the store, so I'm not bouncing all over my list. And
it's a good idea. Yeah, I like that. But you know how my list is, Rob. It's like all over the place.
Sandra's list is like a word find.
I know. I have to rewrite it out, or I give it to you, and then you have to you put it in order of.
I usually just put it in the recycle bin and carry on. All right. Okay. On to number 3.
Number 3. So yeah, this is the perimeter. Like, basically, when you get to the store and you're going to go shopping, you're probably going to stick to the outer. I mean, there's definitely things in the aisles that you'll probably need too, but generally speaking, you're going to get all the whole foods, the good Mother Nature's bounty foods on the perimeter of the store. Yeah,
that was a really good tip that when you told me that years ago. I never really thought of how a grocery store was laid out, but I'm like, oh yeah, all the crappy stuff, processed stuff is all on the inside, and all the good stuff, the main foods, or the 4 food groups. I don't know how you describe it all, but yeah, it's on the outside. It's a neat strategy for shopping.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the way that grocery stores are laid out, they actually are laid out in a way hoping to catch the consumer's attention, and to, they put the milk on the very back of the store. So say you're just stopping because you ran out of milk, you have to go past how many different items. There's 80,000 different items in the grocery store.
80,000.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah. And that's a lot different than it was, I don't know, when we were growing up, and then even before that, think of decades ago. It's just changed so much. There's just so many more food companies. There's so many more brands. There's so much variety to choose from. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Okay, so vegetables and fruits, we're not getting enough. So if you look at your cart, when you go through the till at the end of your grocery shopping day or time, hopefully your cart is going to look a little bit like that perfect plate ratio. So half the cart is vegetables and fruits.
Yeah, that's the carts at our grocery store are kind of nice, because there's 2 layers. There's a big layer on top, and that's where I put all my fruits and veggies, because I don't want them on the bottom and then I pile everything on top.
Oh, so that's interesting. I didn't know you did that. That's a good idea.
I do it. Yeah, okay, it makes sense. And then all the boxes of stuff or whatever is in a package that we're buying is on the bottom, or anything heavy.
Or the meats, like any kind of chicken or beef or anything is on the bottom, so
all the
it's not
farm animals
dripping on the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we want to, try to have 5 different colors every day in your diet of vegetables and fruits. And you want to try to aim for, minimum, if you can, like having vegetables at least twice a day and maybe 4 servings of them, and then fruits 2 to 3 to 4 times a day. So that, basically eating them as snacks and with your meals would help with increasing your intake of vegetables and fruits.
For sure. Something else I was going to mention too is if we're trying to have include all these things in our diet every day, making easy food choices at home or making good food choices at home is easier if we shop for the right foods in the first place. And then everything that you have at your fingertips at home is going to be a good choice because you've already made the decision to not put bad food in your house or in your cupboards. So it makes it a little bit easier to choose stuff when you're having a snack or a meal.
Yeah. And there have been clients I've had that, have been like on this like health kick, and they actually go through their cupboards and they like throw away anything that doesn't fit. I think that's a bit extreme because that's kind of like huge food waste, right? But I mean, if you don't purchase it in the first place or you don't have it lying around, then you probably won't eat it.
That's true. Yep.
Or having single serving options. For some people, that helps with, they'll eat it and then they won't overeat it. Like they won't open a huge bag of chips. They'll just have a little. But then the whole issue of packaging and environmental concerns comes into the picture with single servings.
Yeah, there's so much discipline involved with food, and I struggle with that too, just because I like food so much. It's hard to stop eating, but yeah, and discipline is a big part of it.
One of the things I was going to mention about produce, because we're talking about fruits, vegetables, and frozen is definitely a fine option for people, especially in the winter when we're not in the season in your local area. It's not like the time for these fresh vegetables to be available. So definitely frozen berries are awesome for smoothies or in your cereal or desserts or a snack. They're excellent. And then also frozen vegetables. So all various types of frozen beans and peas and broccoli and all the different vegetables that, and if it's going to be in your freezer, it'll last a lot longer and you can use it as little or as much as you want for your meal. And the rest doesn't kind of get all like in the fridge. If you have fresh produce and it's just been sitting in the bottom of the drawer and going kind of wilted, and it's, actually better nutrition if it's frozen and it's taken at its peak ripeness and flash frozen, so they preserve all the the different water soluble vitamins and minerals.
Yeah, and it's easy to add just a handful of whatever frozen vegetables you have into whatever you're making, into a sauce or a soup or some kind of pan full of goodness.
Absolutely. Or even in baking, like roasting.
Into baking your pancakes, maybe some corn,
berries,
and peas and corn in the pancakes.
You're so funny.
Hey, why not?
Well, that's maybe for an omelet. But
that's maybe for me. Yes.
That's right. So we're in the produce section, and we're looking at the array of different colors. People say, well, what's the portion size? Like what, if I want to eat, over 5 different colors, maybe aim for 7 servings of vegetables and fruits in the day. So, 3 fruits, 4 veggies or something about that. A serving, what's a serving?
Well, don't ask me because I eat a lot of food. The palm of your hand.
Your hand is a really good way to use for portion control. Like, basically the fist is like a size of an apple. Or
Sandra was waving her fist at me. That's how I knew the answer. Or she was threatening me. One of the two.
No, it's just most people can use their hands to visualize different servings. So it's a perfect tool because we all, have your hand with you when you're shopping or when you're eating. So you think of potato is the size of your fist. And people ask, I can't have root vegetables. They're too high in sugar. No, actually, variety is key when we're talking about vegetables and fruits, and including potato, sweet potato, yam, other root vegetables. Beets are root vegetables. You know how healthy beets
Oh,
are.
beets. That's my new staple.
Right. Yeah, so definitely that is one of those 7, and they are definitely included as a variety and spice of life.
1 of 7 what?
1 of 7 vegetables and fruits in your day.
Oh, I see. Sorry. I thought you were starting a different list that I didn't know about.
No. Yeah. So, and the thing is also different types of eating things raw, or if they're roasted, or if they're stir fried, if they're steamed. So all the different ways of cooking vegetables and fruits is really good too. Like, using foods with the peel. Sometimes you might peel, take the peel off of something, depending on what recipe you're going for, or what you're wanting to achieve. But you're going to look at me and say, what's your goal with eating certain vegetables?
I'll let it fly this time.
Well, and peel gives you more fiber. So for most people, and many people, that's a really good thing, is to get more fiber in the diet.
Yeah, often that's where the nutrients are. Well, not often, but sometimes with some fruits, right? You've told me that the peel is, I think with kiwis, you said, because some people, we have kiwis and I just eat them as is. But a lot of people take the skin off because it's fuzzy and they don't like that. But you said that there's so many nutrients in the actual skin itself.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's organic and that they're not spraying things with pesticides, then definitely the peel is a really good thing to include, because that's where most of the fiber is in the peels. And
Right.
And if you're thinking about citrus fruits and,
Oranges and grapefruits and
the peel has some really good nutrition. They have some good phytochemicals in the peel. So even using those, like putting them in water to, when you're drinking your water for hydration.
I guess you want to wash it, obviously.
Yeah, definitely washing. And it's good to, instead of bringing your groceries home and washing them all, it's actually better to wash just before you eat. So just bring your groceries home, put them away, and then before you're about to eat them, that's a better time to wash.
Yeah, it makes sense.
What's that smell? Oh, the bakery.
The bakery is always a fun place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it means whole grains.
Well, that's one thing, I guess. That's what it should mean if you're looking for healthy options.
Yeah, whole grain foods like oats and whole wheat, whole rye, barley, brown rice, which are in the aisles. But if we're looking at the kind of bakery section, then we'll probably want to get more of the whole grain types of breads.
Right.
And then the whole grain actually contains 3 parts of the grain kernel: the bran, the germ, and the endosperm.
And the endosperm, okay.
Yeah. So the bran is what gives it fiber, and that is something that most people don't have enough of in their diet. So when you have whole grains, you're going to get more fiber.
And is that why whole grain bread is recommended over just the white bread?
Exactly. Yes.
That is good to know, yeah.
And so what's a serving?
Of bread?
Of
Two
whole
pieces,
grain.
isn't it? 2 pieces of bread?
No, 1.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 piece.
But that's the thing, if you look at, say, a bagel, actually it's 2 servings, because it's, or it even could be more than 2, depending on, how big each one is.
Some of the bagels are huge.
Yeah. So that's where we're going to get into talking about serving size and the nutrition facts label, to look at, how many calories per serving size. And then you're looking at the different core nutrients and the percentage of daily value for various nutrients.
Right. So Subway sandwich must have like 3 servings of everything that's like if you get a 12-inch sub.
Oh, in a 6-inch is like 3 or 4 servings.
Wow, that's insane.
Actually, I think it's 4 servings in a 6-inch, and then a 12-inch. Yeah, exactly.
No wonder I'm full when I finish eating it.
Well, no wonder there's an epidemic of people with in the population of North America. It's just our serving sizes are massive, and they're just way more than we need.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for
it's just
sure.
food tastes so good, right? So, and that's the other thing is food companies, they make food taste so good. They do market research, they do food lab testing they have scientists that are making the food just taste a certain way and just perfectly
desirable.
Exactly. The flavor, the mouth feel, the sweetness, the texture, like everything. It's just they do a lot of research to make the perfect food.
That's crazy. Although I guess that's makes sense when you think of food as a commodity. Then they're going to try to make it as good as they can to sell more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a business. So health is not, the top of the priority list in terms of food company. It's the bottom line for them. So yeah, and they're some of the biggest, companies in the world are food companies. So they are making lots of money off of the highly processed foods. So it's better to eat more minimally processed whole foods.
Yeah. And local. Local's always good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Shall we continue our little tour of the store here?
Yeah. So a serving. So what is a serving? So 1 slice of bread, half a bagel, 30 grams of cold cereal. So that's for some cereals, like the dense ones, like the flakes. It would be like 30 grams is different than a puffed type cereal, which has air as the extra ingredient. They've actually puffed you think of puffed wheat, or they've used air as a additive.
Right.
And it's going to be lighter, and so you can eat more of it with less calories. Half a cup of cooked pasta or cooked couscous, for instance. Half a cup of cooked rice or quinoa. Half a tortilla or pita. Those are all one serving.
Right.
Yeah. I think carbs get a negative rap because so many people reach for the wrong ones.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like refined carbohydrates in white bread, and refined white pasta and white rice, and candy, cookies, sugary cereals, and and even drinks have carbohydrates.
Right.
But a low intake of whole grains is actually the leading dietary risk factor for death and disease in the U.S., according to a study published in The Lancet in 2019.
Really? Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and trying to get more healthy whole grains into your diet can help prevent heart disease, diabetes, colon cancer, possibly Alzheimer's.
Yeah, that's really good information.
And did you know why? Like, what part of the whole grain is so important?
No, probably I could guess, but I'll just let you tell us.
Fiber.
I guess that's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
It even says that on the Cheerios box. It's got a big heart. I just looked at the Cheerios box. That's how I know. And it's like good for your heart health or something. It must be the fiber.
Exactly. The oats. Yeah. And, eating complex carbohydrates that are whole grains do support like a better glycemic control for if you have diabetes, and also helps with gut biome, like helping to have healthy, because I think we talked about the prebiotics.
Yeah.
And those are in a lot of the whole grain foods. So that's helping your gut health too. But I think a lot of people, they stick with 1 or 2 whole grains in their whole repertoire. And the challenge would be to try new whole grains.
So the normal ones are bread, pasta, rice, cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so many different like ancient grains, and you think of barley in soup, using buckwheat or bulgur, oats at breakfast, quinoa. There's freekeh. We tried that one time. It's a grain. Sorghum, farro, amaranth.
Yeah, that one, they need to work on the name. You can't pronounce it. It's hard to shop for it.
That's right. And the whole wheat couscous is another. It's an easy to prepare and another whole grain to use.
And it's fast too. I mean, it's ready in seconds almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many more out there, and just challenge yourself. Just try something new. I do that sometimes when I'm in those times when I have like extra time to stroll around the store. I'll like stop and look at something I've never looked at before, and maybe bring it home and try it, just because it's like, hey, why not? See what it tastes like, see what it is, and introduce yourself to something different.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yes.
So back to our shopping tour. We're in the bakery now, or the bread section, I guess you call it too.
Well, we moved over into where you buy whole wheat pasta and brown rice. And
I'm still in the bread section. I'm taking my time. Right. So just maybe we can give people a quick idea of, I guess you just said whole grains. So whatever your fancy is, just choose a whole grain option versus the white bread.
Yeah, and actually even in the if you're looking at bread, look at the ones that have lots of seeds and grains, like the visible flax seeds and the sunflower seeds, and maybe the seedy type bread, or the rye is a good one too. But good. Also, remember the pasta we had? It was the black bean pasta, and I think per serving it had 39 grams of protein and a ton of fiber, just because they're made with black beans. So that's another thing to choose, is different types of pasta. Yeah,
that was incredible. They had a few different options. There were some made with chickpeas, black beans. There's a few different ones, but yeah, loaded with protein. Yes, and they tasted good.
Yeah. And I think with gluten-free, like people that are avoiding gluten or, looking for those gluten-free labels, I think what happens is they end up eating a lot of rice products and overly processed rice products. And there is a bit of an issue with that because the amount of arsenic, it's a heavy metal that is concentrated in unfortunately, rice has more arsenic than other foods, and a lot of people are eating a lot of rice products. So if you're having, rice and then rice cakes and rice crackers and then rice milk, rice cereal, because of gluten issues, maybe branch out and try a more variety of different grains and try to have less concentration of rice.
Good call.
And even when you're using rice, like how I always cook it, and this actually helps to reduce the arsenic and helps to clean it, is just have it in a strainer and rinse it before you cook it. And I know it's one more step, and you can't really do that with the instant type rices, but the whole, like the wild brown rice, you can rinse it, and that gets rid of some of the arsenic.
Yeah, good idea.
Now we've come up to the dairy case.
Yeah, the dairy case. All our milk and cheese and yogurt and
plant-based alternatives.
Oh, and those too.
Yeah.
You can hear all about them in episode 1 if you haven't heard that. There's lots of information in that episode.
On the plant-based milk alternatives.
Milk, exactly.
Yeah. 1 in 4 Canadian women and 1 in 8 men have osteoporosis.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a condition where bones get thinner and break easily. And I think we talked about this a little bit in episode 1, how the first 3 decades of life is when you build your peak bone mass.
And it's calcium, which you get from a lot of dairy products, is a key component.
Along with vitamin D, yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So the vitamin D helps your gut absorb calcium. And the other part is weight-bearing exercise is key to help keep your bones strong.
There you go.
I think we've talked about how when astronauts go up in space, they come back with a degree of osteoporosis.
Because it's not weight, there's no gravity.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's weightless, so they don't have that strain on their bone to keep the bone strong.
Huh. I wonder how long it takes to get to that point. It must be up there for a little while, I would think. Although your muscles, you can lose it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so every day we need to probably have, you want to get your calcium requirements. And to do that, you usually need about 3 servings of calcium rich foods or fluids a day.
Oh, that's it, hey?
Yeah, 2 to 3 servings actually, because you can get a little bit in other foods.
Okay. So one serving at each meal if you eat 3 meals a day, I guess, kind of thing.
Yeah, or a snack. What's a serving?
I don't know. Dairy. I'm thinking that's a lot of cheese if it's the palm of my hand.
No.
That's how much cheese I eat.
No, it's a cup.
A cup.
A cup of
cheese?
No, a cup of milk.
Okay.
Or a cup of fortified plant-based alternative, or 3/4 of a cup of yogurt, plain yogurt.
And is that what a little yogurt is, do you think? Do you think they give you a serving size?
Actually,
it's probably pretty close.
It's close, yeah. But, yogurt's an interesting thing because there's so many more options now with yogurt. And there's 2 things about yogurt that are important to look for. One is it plain or is it got some flavors? And 2, is it, a dessert yogurt, like high fat or low fat?
And flavor means tons of sugar.
Exactly.
That's what I've learned.
Oh, it's nuts the amount of sugar that can be in yogurt.
Yeah, like 20 grams per serving, or like whatever it is.
Yeah,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty high, the number. So the best one to do is a plain yogurt and a lower fat, so 2% milk fat or less. So plain, low fat.
And add your own fruit.
Yeah, or if you're
honey or something, sweeten it yourself.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Or use it if you're using it in a savory dish. It can be a replacement for sour cream.
It actually tastes okay. I don't mind the flavor of it. If you're used to like super sweet yogurt and then you taste this, you'll be like, oh, it's so bland, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. Some people find it too sour to taste, to have on its own, everybody's different. And I think if you have that sweet tooth, then the best idea is try to have more natural foods in your diet and kind of get away from needing like ultra sweet foods.
Yeah, exactly. Did you say how much cheese we need? Like, what's a serving of cheese?
Well, we don't need it. It's something that you use sparingly because it is usually pretty high in fat, saturated fat. But about the size of your thumb is a serving. So 1.5 ounces or 50 grams of cheese.
Something we use sparingly. I think recipes have ignored that because most things that have cheese are just loaded with cheese, hey?
Yeah. It is. It is a tasty food, and when we talk about like oral health, like good for your teeth type foods, cheese is actually a good snack to have because of it's
with crackers late at night.
Not late at night, no. But yeah, cheese and fruit, or it's definitely, it has a role to play, but just watch how much you're having.
Yeah, like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's good to know the serving sizes, though. That certainly helps. So is that it for dairy? We want to get our serving of calcium and vitamin D, you said, as well?
Yeah. And if you're not a milk drinker and you just don't have that as a staple in your diet, there's other ways to get calcium. So, white beans, like thinking of beans. So 1/2 cup of cooked white beans, 1/2 cup of almond, or sorry, 1/4 cup of almonds is a little bit of calcium for you. 1/2 cup of salmon, especially if it's got the bones, like canned with bones. There's all the plant-based alternatives. 1 cup, 6 figs. So the figs are, the dried figs are actually pretty high in calcium.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some orange juice has calcium fortification too. So,
right.
We'll talk about juice and drinks, but it's, a lot of sugar. So
yeah.
It's like 8 teaspoons of sugar in a cup of orange juice.
Yeah. That's no bueno.
All right, we're going to be moving on down the aisle to the meat department.
The meat.
So, meat, what does it provide our body?
Protein and yumminess.
B vitamins and iron, zinc, magnesium, and protein, like you said.
Right, yeah, those things too.
But what does meat doesn't not have?
Meat, what does meat not have? Meat does not have dairy in it.
Doesn't have fiber.
Oh, you're right. Doesn't have fiber either.
That's why plant-based alternatives are excellent.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, and and way to get more fiber in your diet is using beans and nuts and seeds and different meat-based or plant-based alternatives to meat.
Oh, there you go. Smart. Because red meat is bad for your heart, right?
Well, if you eat it too often, it's high in saturated fat and cholesterol.
Right.
And I think we covered that on other episodes about cancer prevention. But yeah, we don't want to eat red meat too often.
Right. I'm just thinking that you're talking about the plant-based alternatives are high in fiber, which is good for your heart. And so that's kind of a good
Yes, absolutely.
replacement.
Yeah. And actually, a good way to reduce your carbon footprint with food is having a meatless Monday or trying to have more vegetarian meals through the week. So,
Yeah, and we talked a bit about that too in episode 2, I think, just different ideas for vegetarian type dishes.
absolutely.
But yeah, there's lots of options out there these days.
So 1 to 3 servings, depending on if you're a child or an adult, in terms of meat. And a serving is the size of the palm of your hand.
Right.
So that is 1 serving. And having fish and chicken. So chicken a couple times a week would be great. Poultry and fish has those great omega-3 fatty acids. So that helps reduce heart disease.
Yeah, those are healthy options, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we talked about the processed meats in another episode, but it's the nitrates and nitrites that actually end up having the nitrosamines. They form nitrosamines, and it's in cured meats like hot dogs, bacon, sausage, ham, lunch meats. And eating a lot of those processed meats for 10 years can double your cancer risk.
Wow. Yeah. That stuff is tasty, but yeah, it's obviously not good for you.
Yeah, there's studies that show having 2 slices of bacon a day for a woman increases colorectal cancer risk, or half a hot dog 2 to 3 times a week. And for men, it's half a hot dog 5 to 6 times a week can increase colorectal cancer.
Well, it's a good thing we don't eat too much of that stuff.
Yeah, it's more of a
Treat.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So going back, and we're in the meat section and alternatives. We did mention fish. So herring, mackerel, salmon, sardines are really high in the omega-3 fatty acids.
Right.
2 eggs is a serving of protein food for your meal. So that could be an alternative to meat, or 2 tablespoons of peanut or nut butter. So preferably the one that's not loaded with sugar. So like, a natural peanut butter would be good.
Right.
And definitely tofu, cooked legumes. So beans are another alternative to meat.
Yeah, those are all good alternatives.
So how do we try to incorporate more of those types of alternatives in our day?
Is that a trick question?
Well, we can use hummus as a chickpea spread with their veggies or on sandwiches. You can put some black beans into different casserole or stew or scrambled eggs.
I gotcha.
Or add lentils to soups or split peas. Served baked beans with a salad, or adding tofu to vegetable stir fries. And you can replace ground beef with lentils in spaghetti sauce.
Good idea. Have we tried that? I don't know if we have. Well, I wasn't aware of it if we have, but that sounds like a good idea. There's also the, I don't want to call it fake meat, but what do you call that stuff? The
vegetable texture protein?
Yeah, that stuff's really good. I like that a lot. I mean, it doesn't taste very good on its, well, it's not bad on its own, but you can easily replace a ground beef with that stuff.
The Or the veggie ground round.
That's the kind of stuff I was thinking about. But yeah, those are really good meat alternatives, and soy based, I guess.
That's right.
That are instead of red meat.
That was a productive grocery tour of the perimeter.
Yeah, it's I guess where all the good stuff is. Hey, like we mentioned in the beginning, the perimeter is
Mother Nature's bounty.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So
the whole minimally processed foods.
Right.
Yeah, we covered the 5 steps to help make the grocery tour trip healthier.
Right.
So number 1, eat first. Don't shop on an empty stomach. Mm-hmm. Number 2, plan ahead and make a list.
Make your list.
Maybe take a picture of your fridge.
Yep.
Inside of the fridge. Number 3, shop the perimeter for the basics.
Right.
Number 4, start in the produce section.
And why did we start there?
Well, just because we want the color and variety, and we want to prioritize that section.
That makes sense. It's the main priority. It should be the main priority on your plate. So we want to make sure we don't want to fill our buggy with everything else.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And number 5, look at labels.
Yeah. And there wasn't a lot of labels in those sections. And I think we're going to be doing a different episode in the future on specifically on reading labels.
That's right. Yeah. So when you get to the grocery store, the produce section, look for color, variety. The bakery section, whole grains, visible seeds and nuts on those whole grains, or rye, or different types of grains.
Right.
Dairy, look at the lower fat options because it's a saturated fat. It's an animal fat. Meat, same thing. The less marbling, the leaner cuts. Choose more fish and chicken, less of the processed cured meats, or limit those altogether. Really reduce how much you're having of those. And choose more plant-based proteins like beans and nuts and seeds.
Yeah, give them a try. They're actually pretty tasty. There's a lot of really good options out there for the plant-based alternatives.
Yeah. And as Rob mentioned, in a future episode, we'll dig deeper into reading food labels and uncovering the most misleading claims.
Right. And that will sort of help us get through the rest of the grocery store, all those inner aisles where the processed foods are. Reading the label is going to be pretty important when it comes to making good food choices with those products.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's the end of this one. We covered a lot of ground, learned some new stuff, and we will be back next week with something else again.
See you at the checkout.
Nice. Have a good week. Thanks for joining us today on My Wife the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review, and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.